guys, and welcome back. Today I'm going to complete the rest of my irrigation system that I have been putting in place throughout my whole entire yard. Now, we are approaching fall, but it is never too late to start putting your irrigation system in, because come next springtime, it's going to be put in and I won't have to hand water all next summer long. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to be fixing a couple of real problem areas, because after assessing the irrigation of how it's working right now, I found a couple of areas that were really problem areas. So I will be fixing those, and I will also be showing you how you can put an irrigation system in containers so that you don't even have to water your containers. Leave them alone and just enjoy them for the rest of the summer. So let's get started. So like I mentioned on my previous video, I laid my main irrigation line from right over this point along my fence, all the way around, along the cyclone fence here, to the back of my chicken runner and behind my chicken coop. Over here, I tucked it behind this panel here, and then on this side of the fence I ran it from once it came through the fence, and I ran it all along this fence, which runs all the way to the very front of my yard, and it elbows from that corner over to this direction. This hose here is what feeds this side. This hose here runs in to just a handheld in case I need it for a different watering source. I'm not messing with any of my timer. Then I've got one irrigation hose that runs all along the house here, and then the other irrigation line goes in this side of my garden. This is my south facing wall, and I ran it behind all of my plants all along, and it ends right here, and I have it tucked right there. The main water line went from the chicken coop all along the fence here, one long line, and right here is where I used an elbow right there, and then I ran another irrigation line all the way to the end of my garden spot right here. So then on this side of my garden, I have my porch garden bed here, and then I have my front driveway corner garden here. So I added the main irrigation all the way, and I just wrapped it around that corner over to here. And then on this side, I put a stopper. As you can see, there's a stopper there. And I ran the main irrigation all along right there. I elbowed it down so that it just could elbow down to the ground. Then I added another elbow down there. I buried it under the ground and wrapped it around to that direction. I'll show you that in a minute. So this side here then was buried underneath the stones. I had to pick those up, bury it underground, and I added a cross T right here that is connecting this area right here. So let me take you around the other side of the fence. I put an elbow here, an elbow there, and I ran it all along this whole area here. Please excuse my yard. And I ran it all the way over here to this setup. This is what I'm working on right now. So this is the garden hose that I was talking about. As you can see, it's buried down here. So I'm going to cut it right here in hopes that this will work, and then I'll just put an irrigation hose over here because it is really saturating my hostas here. Way too much. So that's something that I need to fix right here. And nippers work perfectly fine. I'm hoping there's no more holes coming down, but this is definitely a bad situation. And typically I wouldn't be setting this up. It's just that I was in a hurry. I wanted to go on vacation. So let's see, I don't think I have anything in there. This part here. Cut this. Cut that line. Best way to do this is to get it started. There. This I don't need. And actually need to retrieve that. Okay, for me to connect this, I need an adapter for the end of another irrigation line. So that's what I need to connect both of these. So first things first, I'm gonna push that in there. And I actually installed that before putting this in on it, because you're going to need one of these little metal brackets to tighten it up around there. Hopefully I can do it without any issues. There. And actually I didn't even need it that bad. So I'll get my pliers. Pinch that. That should hold it really well. So now this is my main irrigation line. So now I'm going to connect these two. And you don't need a fastener. You don't need anything because this holds really tight right here. This is their shut off. Okay, so now that's my main hose. Clearly I have way too much, but I want to connect it from here to here. So even if to shove it way over there, that's fine. I'm gonna guess it's about right here. Now this is where the hot water comes in handy, because this kind of turns, gets snugged in there, And sometimes you need to warm it up, but it doesn't look like I'm going to need to with this. And then it tightens it up really well. And then I hook that on. And now I'll test it with the water and see what happens over here. So I ended up having to change out this adapter because the other one kept actually leaking. So as you can see, I have my pipe right there. And I did put a little bit of pipe tape here. And then I have a female to a male. And I used this because this just slipped into the irrigation hose. And so now I had to use another, I don't know what you call these, maybe things are. I placed it there, so now I'll just bury it on the ground and we'll move on to the next project. Okay, so something that I need to do right now is I have an irrigation tube that comes up on top of my chicken coop and it goes across my garden up here. Well, I'm going to be changing that out and make it flat rather than bowing over because I don't want to trip over it. So I'm going to be elbowing out and over to the top of my chicken coop. Okay, so here's the tube and it feeds from right next to my chicken coop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to elbow it right here. I will get my straight edge. I'm going to snap it off right there. Don't want to lose it, so now I'm going to put an elbow right here. This way it lays straight across in this manner and it's not lifting up over like this, if that makes sense. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm gonna straighten this out here. And I'm gonna connect this so that it is laying straight across. Okay, so now that I have that elbowed down, move this pipe here. So see, now that that is down there, see how much nicer that's going to be where it's tucked down underneath and then I don't have to worry about it. So now I'm going to cut it over here. So let me show you a little bit of what I did because I was reviewing what I had filmed and there was areas where you couldn't see. So let me just walk you through this. Basically, this bowed over and it was just across here. That just was a little bit dangerous every time I climbed up to the top of the chicken coop. So what I ended up doing is I put an elbow over here and then I just kind of tied it to the fence there so that it holds nice and taut. And then I ran it across here. I ran another elbow right over here. Then I brought it straight up in through the container. And then I made 3 irrigation, actually 1, 2, 3 irrigation tubes where I ended up doing an 18-inch irrigation hose. So I ran it this way and I did an elbow here in this corner right here, and then I did a T here, and then this T goes directly down where the main water source is coming through, And then I did an elbow here. And then I used this irrigation hose in all 3 of them. And the other one, I don't know if you can see that over there. And then I put a few little drip lines here. I did 1 little sprinkler here and 1 little sprinkler here. And as you can see from looking above, you have 1, 2, and then 3 over there. Now the reason why I added these little sprinklers is because this is 18 inches apart as far as the meter goes, and I should have really had 12-inch apart as far as the drip line goes. And so to compensate for that and make sure that this whole garden area over here got plenty of water, I decided to go ahead and add a couple of little more just sprinklers, just to make sure that everything's going to get properly watered on a regular basis. And so yeah, I just did this on a grid, and now you can see it on this side. So pretty much I just ran a hose. This has no meters or no holes in them. This is just the regular irrigation hose on both sides, and I just kind of connected them with the corner brackets over here, and then the other end. I can't quite reach out to that side because I'll fall, but maybe you can see it way over there. And so this ones are just the water source. It really has nothing to do with this side. I could do drip meters here and over there if I have plants in that side, but this is getting plenty of water from the meters the way I set them. So how I set this up, and you can see a hole right here. So how I set these up, I'm going to turn that because obviously it's not, I don't want it to go forward, I want it to go down. So what I did is I did where it got spaced here, and then I did it over here, but they were kind of closer to the plant. Yeah, it's working really great. I can now touch the dirt, and it's nice and moist. I do need to add more dirt to my roots here, but everything's looking great, and I see more tomatoes ready to harvest. So now I'm doing this side, and I apologize, but I forgot to move the camera. So I will show you exactly what I did on this side on the irrigation, and then I'll see if I can't bring you closer on the details of where I'm going to be putting the spigots. And I have these 2 guys here. What are your names?
Arturo.
Arturo?
Yeah.
This is Arturo. This is
Hi.
This is like my great nephew. And then what's your name?
Jorge.
And this is Jorge. They're my little helpers today. So anyway, so I will show you where I put and connected the irrigation over in this side, and where I'm going to take it over to my garden bed over there, and hopefully to some of my containers up on the backyard. So let me turn the camera around and show you what I did. And again, I'm sorry, I totally spaced out of what I was filming and just doing my stuff. So okay, let me turn you around. Okay, right here's my meter, and this is where my irrigation hose is. Now I'm only doing 1 irrigation hose that's going to operate all the way to the front to my porch garden as well as my driveway garden, and then it's also going to go across right here. As you see this black hose right here, I ended up doing a T right here and crossing it over here. As you can see right there, I put an elbow. Then I ran it all the way underneath, all the way against the fence. So then on this container, as you can see, it wasn't doing very well. But what I went with this, and it seemed to be plenty, was just going with a 1/4-inch soaker hose around my plants there. And it actually did water this sufficiently. this container here was self-watering, and I actually initially put 1 gallon per hour meters, and I put like 2 of them, but because I already had water in the reservoir, it was really overwatering this container, so I had to relieve the water and just put these this 1/4 inch soaker hose, and it actually works beautiful for this little garden. And this 2 gardens here, I actually used this little sprinkler, dripper, bobblers, whatever you want to call it, and I had hooked it to the main irrigation line here. So these are self-watering. This one's tomato plants didn't do really great, but I am finally getting some tomatoes on them. Another video, but okay, so this is where I'm at right now, and I will be putting an elbow here and running it over to that plant over there. But I'm hoping that I will be able to connect these 2 pots with irrigation, and if I can do that today before it gets dark, then I won't have to hand water anything, period, unless it's a small pot of flowers. So over here I'm gonna add a cross T. So I will measure this, and then I'm gonna put 1 gallon per hour meter and connect that. And I will just tuck it right behind here and just let it drip right there. I don't even need a spigot. It'll be perfectly fine. So basically, I just tucked it right here, a little drip line, and that'll be plenty for here. Constant water, twice a day. I ran the line across behind there, and you may not be able to see this very clear, but right here is where I will do my tea. One thing that I want to mention is when you use this, and see that little nail head there? When you go to punch a hole, make sure you follow through, because once you pierce it, if you remove it and then you try to do it again, you're going to end up messing up. So you're going to end up having to splice the hose and then reconnect it and then punch a hole elsewhere. So just always follow through. So right there's where I'm going to do a T connector. Just add a little extra. Guess I could have done a better line there. Connect that end. Connect this line. And then just punch it in there. If you do them like that, it's so much easier. And once it snaps, it's in there. And that I can tuck in there. This I will just add a little drip line, kind of like in the middle over here. I'll just tuck it in the center part. Now on this drip lines, you have like this little you have like this little lip right here. That's the side that you connect your hose in. The straight line is your drip line. And that I'm just going to tuck right there, and it'll just do its thing. I'll run that to the center right there. So I will cut this. I'm going to cut that right about right here. Because that'll bring it up to about right here. And then I'll dig a hole. You're never going to see this hose. I'm going to put an elbow right here. I can't use that. So some of you guys have asked, how do I stay fit? This is how I stay fit. This is a workout in itself. Really has nothing to do with what I eat. Okay, so that takes care of that. Now, I'll turn that around, squeeze this, and hopefully I don't drop you. I think I'm going to get hot water. That seems to be a little tough. Okay, so some things need scalding water, and clearly this one does. So I will soak that a little bit just to loosen up and make just the end of the hose a little bit more flexible. Whatever it is, I need it to be really nice and soft to squeeze it in here easily. So my recommendation, when you're doing an irrigation hose, don't get the black ones. They seem so much harder. They may work, I don't know, much better because they're a little larger, but not worth hassling that much over it. Oh, so much easier. Just a little bit. There, that worked so much nicer. So now that I have that, I will bring that across over this way. That's where it's going to go. It's going to go right here. So that's where I'm going to do another T. That's right there. And let's see, how am I going to do that? Let's see, if I do this over here. Actually, I'm going to do a T over here, mainly because I want to run it over to the other side. So I'm actually going to cut it. That's quite a bit over. Now these tees, over here I'm going to do a tee. This one's are no hassle whatsoever. So much easier. And then I'm going to run one big line. Let's see if I have enough hose. I'm going to run another hose over here and put an elbow there. And put an elbow right there. Back to the drawing board. That kind of left me just a little bit short, but hopefully it'll be okay. that in the water. So, I will. I'm going to put it right above it. So, the blue is where the nail is. On this end, I'm just going to fold it over and use a little, I'm not even going to put an end cap, I'm just going to put a figure eight. Okay, so now I'm going to, I've got my drip meter here. I'm just going to bring my line in here. And I'm going to bury this. And then I'll staple it down. I put a gallon per hour meter on this plant here, my banana plant. And then for my butylon over here, I actually placed a drip meter here. Then I ran my main irrigation line across here, and I ran one drip line over this direction, and I put a splitter because I actually have a clematis, and you can't see the drip line because I actually put it underneath the stones here. So I have a drip meter there to feed my clematis, and it's been doing wonderful. Then over here, as you saw, I ran one line. You can barely even see it. I need to dig it in a little bit further down, but I did bury it, and then I buried another line all the way across. And as you can see, I have a drip meter there. In fact, I have two of them. Over here, I have one drip meter here on this corner and one drip meter here. And that has been working wonderful. So going back to this side, what I did and how I connected my containers over here, as well as these plants to water with that irrigation system, as well as that little container that you see right there. What I did there is that right over here on the main irrigation line here, I connected just a brown tubing over here, and then I put it underneath these stones. I buried it and brought it right along here, so you don't even see the line. And I added one of these little, I call them a bubbler, but they're kind of like a little bit of a sprinkler system. And that has been sufficient to water all of these plants here. And everything is doing so great because of it. Now, I did leave one of these sprinklers. Again, these are not my favorite. Wouldn't mess with them. But I was in a hurry, so I left that one. And this has been watering this sufficiently. Everything's turning green again. So that's also been working pretty good. So once I ran the line, I split the brown line, and you can't really see it. It's right back there, and it's down below. I ran another little drip line to this winter jasmine, or star jasmine rather. And then I ran the tubing, the quarter tubing, all the way to this plant. So now I don't have to water anything, not one container. So for me to put irrigation on this 2 containers here, I actually, again, have my main irrigation line that runs over here. So in that corner right over here, so right down here, I just ran one line and I connected it with a straight connector, and I ran a line that ran all the way over here, and then I ran it right up above. Once I brought it up above, I ran it down, tucked it behind there, tucked it down on the ground, sorry about the light here, and tucked it right here where there was a crack, and then right here I did a splitter. So I ran one line over here, and initially on this container, on both my containers for that matter, I did a half gallon per hour meter. It was way too much for these plants. So what I did is I came back and I just connected a 1/4 inch soaker hose around my plants. Has been plenty for that. So then I put the line here, and I did have to tape it, but I ran it all the way around back of my chair, excuse that, and as you can see, then I kind of just ran it all along my home, and then back here I did a splitter. So I ended up putting one line over here again, just added a 1/4 inch soaker hose around my plants, and the same thing over here where I just added a 1/4 inch soaker hose. And excuse the dusty plants. I had a squirrel come in and dig a hole, a deep, deep hole right there. So I gotta take care of that. But yeah, and this plants, oh my gosh, all of my containers have been thriving and doing fantastic just with that 1/4 inch soaker hose. So yeah, isn't that exciting? I don't even have to water one single plant, whether it's in a container or in the ground. And that really excites me, because since I have been monitoring this and since I've done this, every plant has gotten much better and bigger. And the reason for that is because it is getting consistent, same amount of water, twice a day, every day. And so because of that, they are thriving. And I can't tell you enough how exciting. Oh my gosh, I could just really just dance and be grateful for this. Now, if I can do this, you can do this. Because again, like I mentioned, I really thought this was a complicated system to put in. And no matter how many videos I watched, it just seemed like it was overwhelming. But once I saw the layout of my yard and saw what obstacles I had to go through, and just really put it down on paper, again, as you can see, I wrote it down on paper, and it just started taking off from there. So if I can do this, you can do this, and I hope that you do, because come next spring, like I mentioned, now I don't have to water and spend time, countless of hours for that matter, and watering any of my plants in any location and in any container. And whenever I plant something new, all I have to do is put a drip meter on the irrigation line that I have in place now. So it's going to be a simple task from here on out. So with that, you guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you get something out of this, and even more, I hope that you guys get up, get out, and get active, and put maybe an irrigation system, even if it's in a container, because it is really relatively easy. So, love you, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye for now.